So everybody, it is the shirted audio file, and I wanted to take a minute and talk about the Schiit Gjarrarhorn and do my final review. Now, pretty straightforward, pretty simple, pretty easy. I've done this video a couple of times and I can't seem to compact it, but I'm going to try. So first and foremost, in my Gjarrarhorn, the initial impression video, which is what I made after I made the sort of first look unboxing, I had mentioned a lot of key points to the amplifier. A lot of those still hold true. Sound staging wise, you get sort of a wall of sound, kind of vibe. I don't really notice much depth or really overall width to the sound. However, it does have good delineation between left and right channels. Images are locked in place, that sort of thing. And it is how it should be. It does do that very well. Okay. Secondly, you should know that I'm not a big soundstage guy. I think sound staging is something that it's a fallacy. It's a fakery. It's trickery. There's a lot of good articles out there about sound staging written by audiophiles, and I think Art Dudley did a couple of them throughout his career, and a few others as well. But I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but sound staging oftentimes is generated through producers and mixers and the band members themselves in terms of the way they want their songs or album to sound. And so what you're really perceiving as a sound stage is sort of fake. It's not really real. Now, there are some exceptions to that. Classical recordings, sometimes live recordings are recorded how it should be. I have a lot of DSD audiophile albums that are specifically recorded so that they're recorded to have sound staging, and it's natural, and I get that. But for me, what's more important is tone and timbre. I want to feel like when I'm listening to a violin, when I'm listening to a piano, when I'm listening to Art Blakey play the drums, is that how that cymbal really sounded? I want to be able to go down to the Guitar Center and hit that ta-ta hi-hat or whatever, and have it sound, oh, that is how it sounded. You know what I mean? And that's getting onto that. That's the great thing about the Gjarrarhorn is its tonality, its timbre. It really shows musical instruments. You feel like you're listening to real instruments. It doesn't feel like some sort of doppelganger, or it's a shadow of it. It is really, and that's something Schiit audio products have done for a long time. It's one of the things that's always drawn me to their products. Sorry, I'm itchy. It's something that's always drawn me to their products, is this sense of great tone and timbre. Couple that with these last few products I've had from them have really increased the prat, the rhythm, the timing, the pacing. I call it the jump factor. It's really done that truly well, very, very well. And getting on to that, of course, I mentioned in the first impression video how I was using it as a power amp. I was using it with my iFi Zen Air DAC as a preamp. Now, those that are unfamiliar, the Zen Air, some people claim, reviewers specifically on Amazon and elsewhere, claim that the RCA outs are not governed by the volume knob on the front. That is incorrect. I've had two different ones. I've had three different ones. I bought one, ended up selling it, and then I bought a second one that had an issue that they replaced. And anyway, all three of them, including the one I've got now is the third one, the replacement. Those RCAs are variable through the volume control, so you can use it as a preamp, and it does work in that way. And it works great. It sounds great. And I've been using also my Dragonfly Red, which actually it's a product I've had stored away that I actually pulled out to use as a preamp. And I also just used the headphone out on my laptop, excuse me. And it's worked great in all configurations. However, that leads me into my next thing, which is viewers that remember the budget audiophile, the channel I ran, and I don't want to bring that up all the time, but I do use that as a big point of reference, of course. Viewers that remember that know I reviewed a lot of gear over a 3-4 year period, a lot of integrated amps, preamps, all kinds of different stuff, and one of the products I reviewed, and I reviewed it twice. was the NAD D3020, the version 2, the one with the phono stage. And, initially I didn't care for it, but then I reviewed it a second time because, the form factor is so intriguing to me, that small form factor. I just love that. I just always have. That's one of the things I like about the Gjallarhorn, is just that small form factor. And you can get such great quality sound out of it because it's a small form factor. But anyway, the second time I reviewed the D3020, I found out I really loved it. And one of the things I really liked about it, I realized it really drove the point home about speaker pairing. Originally, I had it paired with some, I can't remember what the original speakers the first time around, but the second time I had my Klipsch Tangents, which those are unfamiliar. The Tangents, I think, were the predecessor line to the KG line. I had the Tangent 30, which was very similar, or is very similar to the KG4. But anyway, getting to it, I had kept that. It's actually one of the few products, one of the only products that I had kept from the budget audiophile days. And I actually had it stored away, and I had actually, I keep saying actually, but I actually had it stored away, and I had forgotten about it, as a matter of fact. So it was kind of strange in that way, but I dug it out, and I was like, well, hey, you know what? It has a pre-out. Let's use its pre-out. Now it's like a 3.5 socket, but it works, it's functional, right? And man, that really took it to the next level. I mean, in terms of sound, it really plumped up the bass, more so than it was. It also congealed the sound a little bit, and that's something that I don't really consider a con, and I don't consider it something necessarily to mention, but it did two things. And what I mean by congealed the sound is the Gjallarhorn, it was this wall of sound, and I mentioned that, but with the D3020 acting as a preamp, it kind of brought everything into focus. It kind of shrunk a little bit, like the sound width-wise, but it brought everything more into focus, which is a definite plus to me in that respect. It also plumped up the bass, as I mentioned. Not that the bass of the Gjallarhorn is bad, but this brought it up, and it made it even better. Made it really, really good. And what else? Another point, and it's sort of a con, but it's not really a con because it went away, and I didn't mention it on my first impression video, but one of the first things I noticed when I hooked up the Gjallarhorn was it had this almost sense of that the woofer was sort of out of phase. My woofers were out of phase. I can't explain that. But I do know after about a week or so it went away. And trust me, I checked. I'm seasoned at this. Okay, so I checked my speaker cables. I checked all my inputs, made sure the polarity was right on everything. It certainly wasn't that, but every day that first week of owning the Gjallarhorn, it got better and better and better until it finally, I just don't notice it, or it just has went away. So, there's that, but, like I said, adding the D3020 really took it up to the next level. Another cool thing about it enhanced the rhythm and timing, or that jump factor, that kind of boogie factor to the Gjallarhorn. It really highlighted that quite a bit more, which is really nice. Coming away from the Gjallarhorn, and I don't mean to sort of change subjects, but I had never used the D3020 as a preamp, and you don't see many reviews of it being used as a preamp. You don't see many reviews of it being used that way, but it actually is a pretty decent little preamp. It's got digital. It's got a line in, an aux port, just one of those. It has a phono stage. The phono stage isn't great. It's not bad, but it's not. It's okay. But it definitely requires the right cartridge. Let's put it that way to sound its best. But anyway, it just works fantastic. And, I just wanted to mention that on here because, I've never seen a review of that product where somebody seen or read where somebody has used it as a preamp. Most people, they wouldn't consider it. It's too budget for that. But it works well. Tremendously well. But anyway, coming back to it, the Gjallarhorn is a fantastic product. I want to try to keep this under 10 minutes, and I think I'm going to do it. But anyway, highly recommended. Great product. 300 bucks. I think it's 300 or is it 250? I can't remember. But anyway, fantastic. Works well. Great sound. Compact. It doesn't get hot. I mean, what's not to like? I had that thing running for 3 days straight at one point without turning it off, with music going, not just on, with music going. Oh, I'm not going to make the 10 minutes. Well, anyway, and it just doesn't get hot. It just doesn't. Anyway, it's a great product. And I really can't recommend it enough. It gets the 2 thumbs up, the double shirtless 2 thumbs up. But yeah, that's it. Anyway, take care. Peace out.